Ready?
All things Mets talk. Who's with us? Let's see. We're going to talk about what the Mets are doing in preseason, the changes that are happening in baseball that are going to be major for 2023. We're going to talk about the changes the Mets have had and what that's going to look like for the future.
We have MP Poirier there.
Okay, great. Welcome, Mark.
Mark, hi. I also want to talk about our prospects.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. We should take a look at just not only prospects on the Mets, but who else we're going to compete against that's up and coming in baseball. So I've seen some names out there, so it should be interesting to take a look and see what the Mets are going to have to deal with. Okay, we have some other visitors coming in now. That's great. Good.
Marjorie.
All right. Hi, Marge. Welcome.
Thank you for joining us. Brenda, you want to start? I don't want to.
Yeah. Hey, no, one of the big things that I want to talk about tonight, just kicking off this first live streaming that we're doing, is the changes or are the changes that are happening right now in baseball and how we feel about them. We have the pitch clock. We have the banning of the shift. And we also have bigger bases too. So that one's a no-brainer. Everybody agrees that we should have had bigger bases a long time ago when the first basemans were getting spiked and people were getting injured, right? So that's an easy one. But we have the pitch clock, which I'm
gonna say like I don't like it like when it's the definition of a ninth inning when the game is on the line. I don't know if that's fair, but I love the fact that it's speeding up the game.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think the pitchers are testing it now. We saw Verlander yesterday trying to test to see what he could get away with, what he couldn't. Trying to like throw to first base, and there were a couple plays where that were not allowed, but he still tried.
Did you see Scherzer? He violated it, and they called a balk on him. Thinking like if any pitcher would be Scherzer that flies through like his pitching, but what happened is I think Victor I forgot his name, center field for the Nats. He stepped out of the plate, and then Scherzer just didn't stop. He just went and threw, and Victor Robles was not ready, so they called the buck.
Yeah. Yeah. So was it a balk or a ball on? Because these rules have really
I think it was the guy who first went to second.
Oh, so it was a balk. Yeah. So yeah. So anyone out there want to like give their input about what they think with the new rules, and have any of you like paid attention much to how they may impact the game? So we'll just see if anybody wants to respond to that.
I think it's a good thing, but hopefully they'll get used to it.
Yeah. Okay. So what I've read about is the pitchers are going to hate it. Major League Baseball really wanted to make sure that there was more hitting and less strikeouts, and it wasn't even about the game, necessarily being shortened, but more more activity out there for the batters, and that's what brings like the fans engaged into the games. And everything I've heard about the pitchers just cannot stand it, and it's an adjustment, right? That's what it's going to be, just like anytime they've ever had any changes in baseball through the years, the players have to get used to these changes.
So Mark likes it. He said, I haven't seen it in Major League Baseball, but I have in Double A. So
Yeah.
good.
So, anyone else have any input out there? I did. I wanted to bring up too. Yeah, and the minors, they're used to it. So if you have prospects coming up, they're definitely they know what it's about. They've dealt with it, even though it's a little bit different with the timing from minor league to major league. But
Yeah,
they're
new generation is good. Good to go.
yeah, yeah. So one of the things that that I didn't like um about change these changes is what they didn't change. Okay, if that makes any sense. Um to me the big change, and I see Mark had just commented about the
Mhm.
pitch clock.
Sounds like a
Let's
delay.
see. You want to
Well,
read that,
yeah,
Andriana?
calling it a clock sounds like the delays were all about the pitchers. Batters have been worse, stepping out of the box,
Mm.
pitch to adjust their gloves, smile to the fans, and spit.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Yeah,
Yeah.
those, yeah, the batters just as bad with the delays in the game. I guess just from a timing standpoint, we're talking about potentially shaving off 20 to 30 minutes of the game apparently, and there was something there was a video shown from like last year of a certain game, and it was with the Dodgers, and then compared to this year with like the pitch clock, and there was like it took a whole inning. The difference was an inning basically of time.
Oh, wow. A full inning?
So, yeah, full inning, and they did this side by side. It was very creative. I didn't actually see it, but I heard about it. I thought that was kinda interesting.
Um, we have another comment here from Simon says, looks like the players are figuring it out, but I think it will help with the speed of the game. I think it's not a bad thing. Just weird since players are not used to it. Yeah.
Yeah. And
And I think for the fans too, like you said, like it's gonna keep people engaged in the game. Although I like sometimes to kind of wonder, but mentally, but I think it's a good thing overall too.
yeah, so I will say any change, is can be a big deal, and, I was just thinking about before I had mentioned what hasn't changed in baseball or is these hits batsmen. I really wanna talk about that.
Let's talk about
So, hear me out, everybody. Hear me out because the mats were clocked, literally, not the clock on the wall clocked, hit, smashed, 112 times last year. They were
it.
hit.
Mhm.
And it was just this big phenomenon, right? Like that that it was like happening to the Mets all the time.
It was a thing.
They broke the record. I was looking at last year by April 27th last year, they already had, I think it was like 19 players were already hit. I mean, they were, you had some of the players complaining about the ball, about the rules in the past where they couldn't doctor up the ball with any kind of substance. So that had an impact on the pitchers having a grip on the ball.
Mhm.
And that was a big deal last year because it wasn't just the Mets getting hit. There were other teams, and the Mets just happened to lead the league. Actually, in 2021, the Red Sox got, or not the Red Sox, the Reds got hit. Um, let's see, it was like 205 times. So, or no, sorry, 105 times. And that was just, so it's happening more often in baseball. And it had a big impact on the Mets because
The injuries.
yeah, well, Sterling Marte missed a lot of games last year because his finger was injured from getting hit by a pitch. And that had a big impact on the Mets. Without Sterling Marte, the Mets really didn't, I mean, it impacted their team. I don't want to make excuses. What if, or they should have, could have, like, injuries happen, but it, it the way you get injured really does matter to me, like
Mhm.
getting hit by a pitch and then being out for a number of games and then not being able to recover from that injury. That really bothered me last year. And I'm worried this year that Major League Baseball has not done anything to protect the batters from getting hit by
What
the
do you think
wild
then?
pitches.
What would you think it could be done? Do you have, because I can't think of anything.
Yeah, I'd like to get input to see, who out there thinks, what could change. One thing I heard from watching a couple of games, they were talking about potentially giving the pitchers some kind of something to help them with grip without it being an illegal substance, because
Oh,
when you think about it, the batters get up, they're able to do their
I don't
thing.
think that would ever happen
I don't know about, like,
because they've been fighting
something
so
like
much.
a powder, something, sand, I guess they have that anyway. They could put dirt on their hands, something to help them with the grip. I don't What do you guys think? What's your take? I'm really curious about anyone out there that thinks, we could actually, and MLB could do something about this.
Um, oh boy.
Yeah, what we got
Um,
we got some folks giving us some input here. Okay. Anyone have any thoughts about what the Major League Baseball could do? Let's say.
I also think that's kind of part of the game, comes with that sort of fear, and risk you're taking when you're there.
I
It's
just Yeah. I feel um I feel like there's needs to be some kind of protection because, hey, look at the most dangerous sport out there. I think personally that the most popular dangerous sport, football. They have taken measures, the National Football League, to protect specifically their quarterbacks, right? With these penalties against anybody who like sacks um to and intentionally tries to hurt them. So I think, to say it's just part of the game and the risk you take is a little, I I don't know. I still think though that is the players are the major leagues bread and butter. Like, right. They have to protect them. And I think they need to do something. I just don't know what.
Yeah,
I
we have some
don't know
comments
what.
here. We
Okay.
have Mark said they put mud on all the balls, and then I think Simmons said I think the batters are too close to the plate and don't try to move either.
Mm.
That could
Yeah.
be true. Um,
Yeah. That's no, that's a good point too.
yeah.
And the pitchers are trying um to brush off those batters, right? Like as an advantage to get inside and keep them away.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of works both ways. It's just taken such a dramatic turn between, like what it was 5 years ago and today with how many batters are being hit. By the way, we're talking about modern league records. So when I said the Mets, it was 112. Back in the 1800s, it was 160 was the record. So I don't even know what team that was. I'd have to like look
Yeah,
it up. But God
and we're
help
talking
that
about
team.
mm, being hit. Uh, just for those who are joining us now.
Okay. Yeah, we're talking about hits batsmen and how the Mets were just clobbered last year. And I watched yesterday's game just for a little while, and it was in one inning that two players were hit. I
Let me
it's
guess, Ghana.
Yeah, yeah, kinda. Of course, he had the record, right, last
Yeah.
year, I think, for the Mets? Yeah. So, so what's the comment? Mark had a comment about They never need to stand at the plate. Worst thing that happened to them is getting tossed.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, true. Um, so that's something I just thought was interesting, and I wish, Major League Baseball would do something about that. But as far as what they did do with changing, we also have the shift. I'm very curious about what people think about that particular change, because I remember when we were watching that evolve with the shift going, it would be like occasionally we would see it, and, only some teams would use the shift. But now it was like, last year was like everybody. And it was just it took base hits away from players, right? So I
Yeah, it was
obviously that's the
awkward to
intention.
see. Yeah, go ahead,
That's
sorry.
the intention, anything baseball could do to help the players get more hits is what they're going to try to do. And so I think that's the main purpose of banning that shift.
Yeah,
And
to me, it looked like it was like almost they were allowing some sort of cheating. All right, you can all, yeah, move to where the ball's gonna come, and it's just that doesn't make the game as interesting as it should be.
and you know what? It always bothered me that the player couldn't adjust and hit to the open field. Like, hello, they're giving you third base. They're giving you, like, just bunt it down the line. Why?
Yeah, you don't need to like.
Like, they're giving you that field, they're giving you a hit. So that always just bothered me. So I think just seeing like the players in their normal fielding positions is going to make me feel better. And they were asking Lindor about that today, and he was saying, you know what, I'm glad that I don't have to shift, because hey, I have a great arm, and he wants to throw these guys out from his position. He doesn't want to have to be, on the other side of the field, close to first base. So fielders like it too. So,
Yeah,
you know.
so nobody liked it.
Yeah. Yeah. And how about you guys out there, you Met fans? What did
We
you
have a few
think?
people joining us now. We have
Okay, good. We're talking about the rules and the new rules for baseball and what people think about them, how they're going to impact the game, how they may impact the Mets. Um,
and I think it's overall is good that they're making changes. Is that's I think to me the most important thing, making changes and even going back to what they changed, like the shift. They made the shift and then, oh, it doesn't work. Let's go back. So I think that's a good thing.
they're definitely open to just trying something different, and I don't see anything wrong with that. And a matter of fact, I think, from my comments before about like trying to do something to protect the batters with hits batsmen, I think they should do more in some ways. But it's trial by error, right? Like, you have to see what's going to work, what's not going to work. Um,
Mhm.
so we'll find out.
Yeah.
We got some comments here. Somebody who's not
Mhm.
even a fan of something, right? Let's see.
Um, Simon 3 said it's tough for me because the shift was all analytics and the game has changed that way, but I'm okay with seeing what it looks like without the shift. Question is there lines where they can go to?
You mean lines like what when they're shifting?
Physical lines or
Yeah, so the only what they can do is bring a fielder in from the outfield, and then they have only two outfielders. That's what I heard today. So they can't shift over to the other side.
okay,
But
so he is
yeah,
explaining himself like how far they can go, like
yeah,
draw
yeah.
really draw the
So
line. Yeah.
yeah, they're gonna have to stay in their position there, but you are allowed to take a fielder, which nobody will do, um, that I know of. Although I think back in the 80s, the Mets used to do this, is bring like a fielder closer
Yeah.
in.
Hmm.
Yeah, to cover
That's
where
okay.
they think
Like
that
a little bit of this and a little bit
batter's
of
going to
that,
be hitting.
a little bit of
Yeah,
this. That's it.
yeah,
Not
yeah,
like, I think that's why it's called a shift, because it's like, what happened? Like you see them running and um
yeah.
okay, so the entertainer talking sports just said not a fan, honestly. I don't see the value in it. I don't think it's going to help attract new fans and could potentially hurt real baseball fans. The only change I like is the shift.
Okay, so you don't so I don't know if you just joined. We were talking a little bit about the clock, the rule
Yeah, I think
for
he's
the pitch
answering my
clock.
question about the shift.
Yeah, yeah, but
Mhm.
I'm not sure if he was in our studio when we were talking about the clock and the pitch clock before. I don't know. Yeah, so he
Yeah,
probably
he
was.
told me
He
about
doesn't like
5 minutes
the
ago.
pitch clock. Yeah. So that's yeah, it's I don't know. It's one of those things where where how many years have we heard about how long the games are, right? They're going into like we're past midnight, the game's still on. It started at 7, that sort of thing. This pitcher's taking
Mm.
forever. Um I think, that had to be addressed in some way, but maybe this isn't the right way, right? Like we don't know how this is going to end up affecting the players, affecting the game. So I think that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Well, he's the entertainer talking sports said that he doesn't like the pitch clock. Um,
Mm,
assuming it's a he, I don't know. I don't like some of the newer rules they have made, such as a pitcher coming out of a bullpen needs to throw to 3 batters. I don't know if they made
mm,
the rule where you can only throw over 3 times.
yeah. Yeah, so I think this is just
Just throw to
this.
first. Yeah.
Yeah, this is gonna be interesting because I
Um,
have a feeling that we're going to have a lot of violations and, people the players are just gonna freak out, right?
I
Um,
just said I don't like it when it's a definition of the game. That's when I think it's not fair. But I guess we're gonna have to see. And
yeah. So I did talk about like that the hits batsman that they didn't do anything about that. I don't know what they could do. But also there is something in the works and this is down the road is actually having that and I'm probably not going to say it correctly. I don't have it right in front of me, but it's like the automated like strike zone, right? How
oh yeah,
like, I mean, think about it. How many times have you watched a game where an umpire is just all over the place, right? Like, a
there's
strike there's a high strike, there's a low strike, the inside, outside. There's not the consistency. And how many times does that affect the game? And it'll be interesting if they implement some kind of rule that where it's going to be like, hey, this is a strike right in the zone, and that's it. That's coming soon. That's going to be that's gonna be interesting, and then where does that take us with more, you know, automation and, we're
yeah. Well,
already looking at replays, right?
yeah.
So
There's that umpire, like Angel Hernandez. He's like horrible. Everybody just hates when he's behind the plate. Let me see. Yeah, that can. I
yeah,
can agree with LOL. You don't need a home plate umpire to go
yeah.
ball. Yeah, that would be definitely good.
Yeah, so I mean, Margie's saying, the umpires could be really frustrating, and yeah, she's for all automation. I am too. I mean, look, a
Less
strike is
less
a
of them getting
strike.
hurt too.
Seriously, how a strike's a strike, right? Where I don't know how you can, say like you have a zone. We see it. We see it on TV. As fans, we're watching it and we're looking at the box. And then, if that ball is outside and they call it a strike, is that not so frustrating, or vice versa, right? So that's yeah,
I
I'm
mean, it's
just
okay when it's close, but when it's a definite, it's like, come on.
yeah.
It's
Who
no
needs
need for that. No need
these
for that.
umpires anyway? Yeah. So
What
so
about
what?
these we want to talk about those prospects? Want to talk about
Yeah,
Ryan?
yeah. So Andreina, what do you have with some of the prospects?
Well, I just wanted to talk about our prospects. Brett Beatty's, I think he's taking it on. He's really taking this opportunity and going with it, especially because he could potentially totally be like Escobar's second person for third base. I don't know about um, Ronnie Mauricio. He would be what a. I mean, there's no way he's going to be a shortstop with Lindor settled
Yeah.
there. He might need more time too because he's only what 21.
Well, you know
He
what?
reminds me. I don't know. He reminds me a little bit of Daryl Strawberry. I don't know. I
Yeah. What do you
tall
guys think
and
about the prospects coming up? We're getting to see some of them. I love the spring training when you see players that you wouldn't normally see. Maybe they're raw, they're just not ready, but some of them can show you something that you're like, wow, I hope this guy makes the team. And even if there's not a spot for that person, somebody's going to get hurt, right?
yeah,
It's inevitable. Then at least you feel good that you have a bench, right? You have the players
yeah,
in the minors that could come up and fill that spot.
yeah. And Simon
Uh,
is right. That we can have him like come in as DH, as a here and there and sprinkle them around. And there's also Francisco Alvarez, who's has been really popular about. There's the people who want him to play, and there's people like, no, he needs more time. But it's tough with our two catchers right now, really strong catchers with Narvaez and Nido. It's gonna be a little tricky. He's gonna have to really like more than what he's already proven, I think, for Francisco. So
yeah, so time will tell. And then
oh yeah, Vientos. Yeah, Vientos. Vientos is doing great
I,
compared to
lo-
when he
I
came on
yeah,
last year. He was
I love the power too these guys are showing. The only thing I'm going to say is that it's spring training, right? And we know what we get in spring training is not going to be, what we're going to see after, opening day. So that's going to be the question is, are they just facing, some pitchers out there from the opposition that are not ready, that are not looking good. And then they're killing it, right? So you got to
Mhm.
kind of weigh the two out. I mean, I think Walker is saying that, he doesn't even like look at the record. Like nobody like really for spring training looks at the record, but you need to look at these guys, individually to see how
Yeah, because
well.
this is their chance to tell, you know, the organization like keep us. We're worth it. This is their time to shine.
Yeah, no, for sure. So
Yes.
Alvarez, yeah, he may start. Yeah, in the main. Yeah, it says start in the minors, especially if they want him to play catcher. Yeah, I mean that's a tough position too when you think about it, right? I mean,
The
catcher. It's
toughest.
not. It's not about just batting. Obviously, that is the toughest fielding position, and you have to handle the pitchers. Could you imagine like being a rookie and then having to handle
The better
the
Verlander.
veterans, Verlander, Scherzer, it's gonna be yeah, that's gonna be
Yeah,
tough.
especially when the pitchers are known to have like their preferred catcher. Um, and they it's tricky to kind of rise to the occasion and be like, no, you can, I can do it.
Yeah.
It's
There are a couple
intimidating.
I saw a couple comments like Allison and Ken were about
Yeah,
our
here's Allison's, but Vientos, yeah, he definitely might be a really good backup for Alonso for sure. Um,
and then we got Ken with he watching, Beatty and Alvarez on the Cyclones. So yeah, there's a lot to be excited about. The Mets are kind of in the middle with prospects, and they're in the middle of the pack. I would have thought they would be higher up, but some of the prospects out there um, are on from other, teams, and they're actually coming up to the major leagues this year. So that's going to be really interesting. But the Mets really right now they don't have those positions to fill, but we'll see. It's a long season.
yeah,
That's
well,
for
we're
sure.
getting there in our podcast.
Yeah.
We've
So,
already been talking for
oh yeah, Allison said they're fifth. Yeah, so a little bit up there. I just would have thought that they were even better than fifth. Um, it's just
we
from
don't need all
knowing
that
like
pressure anyway.
yeah, yeah, but the Mets are always, like, with the top prospects, so that's good. So we'll see.
Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us
Yeah, thank you so
today.
much, and, hey, we're just putting it out there for the first time, and, we hope you come back. All things, Mets talk, subscribe to YouTube, and, we're gonna be having this we're going to be on the air here on our channel, so just
Yeah,
catch us. And we'll see you soon, guys.
thank you for joining
Thank
us.
you. Have a good
Let's
night.
go
Let's
Mets.
go Mets.